Once upon a time, there was a college golfer named Cody, a young man with a dream. He had a story to tell us. When he was just 11, his fifth-grade teacher asked him to write a letter to someone he admired. Cody loved to play golf, so he wrote a letter to Byron Nelson. Oh, could Byron Nelson play the game? With wonderfully accurate irons and drives as straight as an arrow, his game was a work of art. He was the purest striker of the ball, considered the father of the modern swing. In 1937, Byron won his first major, the Masters, and it was Bobby Jones who pinned the victory medal on him. In all, Byron won 61 tournaments. In 1945, he won a record 11 straight. They say records are made to be broken, but that's one record that was made to be admired for a long, long time. Byron Nelson retired from professional golf at an early age, while still in his prime, but he's remained a wonderful friend of the game his entire life. In fact, as enduring as his remarkable achievements are in the record books of golf, Byron Nelson will forever have a special place in the heart of golf.
Back in the fifth grades when I wrote you, we were having to do reports on someone that we admired and a profession that we wanted to pursue. And so the first person that came to mind was you. You're just a great person, and it was Byron Nelson time in Dallas. And you know, someone like you is just a total model for what a person would want to be. And when I wrote you, I didn't know what to expect. And I figured a legend like yourself would be just flooded with letters. And a couple weeks later, I ended up getting this letter from you in 1990, and I was just amazed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lord Byron Nelson. Mr. Nelson.
Thank you. I really shrunk up, haven't I?
Mr. Nelson, I just wanted to say that you have one of the most desired tournaments on tour for a number of reasons. You have an excellent golf course that's always well maintained. You have a wonderful hotel that the players love to stay in, and you get excellent fan support. But the main reason the players love coming here is because of your name on the golf tournament and for what you've done for the game of golf. And all the players can't thank you enough.
Thank you very much.
I think one of the things that impressed me the most about Byron is his humility, and he is such a humble man, and for what he has achieved in his career, to have that kind of humility is something that I think is something I learned a lot from. He's probably the most approachable superstar.
You know, I think there's a lot of motivation for us to come out here and win a tournament with Byron Nelson's name on it. I know Tom Watson's won 4 of them, and there's probably not 4 tournaments he's more proud of, and I sure would like to get my name on that trophy. And Byron's been great. He's given me his books and put great notes.
I tell you what, when I won here in Dallas, I look at that trophy all the time, and it wasn't so much winning a tournament, and the trophy, it's got Byron's name on it. And I got a picture with Byron. It sits in my office.
I'm lucky enough to call him a friend. He sat with me, he and his wife, on several occasions out at the Byron Nelson, and he's just taken the time, when I was just a dumb little golfer, to say, how you doing, nice to know you, I think you got a lot of talent. And he's that personable, a guy that's that elevated.
I think of kindness and generosity. You know, the way that he's lived his life and the way that he's been so giving. And there's no doubt that golf has been so lucky to have Byron Nelson. You know, it's funny, I've never known anything about his mother and dad, but they had to be awful wonderful people also.
Byron Nelson, all 12 pounds, 8 ounces of him, was born on a farm in Ellis County, Texas, the son of John Byron and Madge Ellen Nelson, and the older brother of Ellen and Charles. Raised on love and discipline, his father, an elder in the Church of Christ, and mother, a Bible scholar, gave him his heritage of faith, although young Byron never quite cottoned to his Sunday best.
Tell us a little bit more about the little boy who didn't like his Sunday shoes.
Well, you know, I was born and raised in the country, born down near Waxahachie, Texas, which is a little community south of Dallas. And my birth certificate says rural area, Ellis County. Well, I was, you know, children didn't wear shoes in those days like that, and I didn't like shoes at all. And my mother got me some new shoes to wear to church, so I didn't like them, and I pulled them off and put them in we had a fireplace and threw them in the fire. So she told me, said, you just go without shoes for a long time. That'll teach you not to burn your shoes up.
Byron was a determined boy and a hard worker. At an early age, his family moved to Fort Worth, about a mile away from the Glen Garden Country Club, where a young man with ambition could earn some money.
The first job I had was I caddied for a man from Dallas, and he told me, said, I understand you're a new caddy, Byron. I said, yes, sir, but I've been trained by the caddy master, Harold Lakey, and I'll do the best I can. He said, well, I'll give you an extra quarter if you don't lose a ball. So the first ball he hit, he sliced it off in the rough, and I never found it, so I lost the first ball, but I didn't lose any more, but I didn't get the extra quarter.
Soon, Byron was fascinated with the game, and he earned enough money to buy his first club, a hickory-shafted mashie. One December afternoon in 1927, just a week before Christmas, the Caddy Championship at Glen Garden featured two young men with very bright futures, Byron Nelson and Ben Hogan. Byron won by a stroke, and a legend was born. In 1932, Byron boarded a bus for Texarkana, where he would compete in his very first tournament as a professional. He finished third, earning $75.
And the funny thing about that tournament, there's 120 players into the tournament, and they paid $5 a piece. That's $600. The prize money they gave me, I was only $500, so we didn't even get back our prize, our entry fee money. That's the way that was tough times in those days, but it was fun.
Soon, Byron would be sharing those tough times, his dream, and his life with a woman who would make his life complete. Louise Schaffner and Byron Nelson were married, and it was her father who would finance his second year on tour. Byron repaid him, saved his pride, and kept working at a most demanding profession. In 1935, he landed a club pro job at Ridgewood in New Jersey. Then he qualified for the Open that year at Oakmont. His game was getting sharper, but there was still something he and his partner needed to straighten out.
I had a driver, I didn't like it, so I came in one night from practice, and I told Louise, I said, well, I don't like my driver. I'm going to have to buy another driver. She said, you know, we've been married a year. I haven't had a new dress, no new shoes, no anything. And we've been struggling, that's all right. You are getting a little bit better. But now you've bought 4 new drivers. So she looked at me and she said, one or two things, Byron said, you don't know what kind of driver you need, or you don't know how to drive. Well, there wasn't much, I sat there and there wasn't much answer to that because it's the truth.
The very next morning, Byron went into the back of the pro shop at Oakmont, and the man who would one day be known as golf's master craftsman went to work on an uncooperative driver, taking a little off the toe, a little off the heel, and rounding a bulge on the face.
And sat down there and it looked good to me. I liked the look of it. So I went out to practice tee and hit the ball good. I hit another one good, and I drove well from then on. That's the psychology, because you can't play with a golf club that doesn't look right to you. You can't use it.
Already known for his wonderful iron play, Byron soon became the straightest of drivers as well, and the game of golf was about to welcome its newest hero.
Well, when I first heard the name Byron Nelson, it was from my father, who told me about his incredible streak in 1945 when he won 11 straight tournaments, and talked about him with the same type of respect. He talked about Bobby Jones and Ben Hogan, Sam Snead, players whom he thought were the best players who ever played the game.
By the summer of 1936, Byron Nelson's game was in high gear. Then came 37, Augusta, Georgia, and the Masters. He began the tournament with a course record 66 and finished with a Sunday back nine of 32, one of those strokes a bold 3-wood over Rays Creek that would lead to a 2-stroke victory. Byron went on to win a second Masters, 2 PGAs, and the U.S. Open.
Byron Nelson becomes the United States Open champion.
Then in 1945, he accomplished the unthinkable, winning 11 straight tournaments, forever engraving the name of Byron Nelson into the history of golf.
It's hard to speak to you and not ask you about the streak.
Well, the streak was very fortunate, and I look back on it now and can hardly believe that it happened that way, because number one, you had to play wonderfully well. Number two, you had to be very lucky. The main thing that I had going, I was playing very steadily and having a lot of good rounds, but the fourth round, I averaged 67.45 in all the finishing rounds that year. And if you're playing real well and you shoot 67.5, you're going to win still today most of the time.
I love his routine of the week. They used to finish the tournament, and then Monday would be driving day. I think practice day was Tuesday, and Wednesday he did his washing. And then he went and played Thursday. I mean, I guess that's where we're going wrong. Somebody does our washing.
All told, in 1945, Byron Nelson's achievements are staggering. He won 11 in a row and 18 tournaments in all, with a scoring average of just 68.3. And from 1944 through 46, he entered 75 tournaments and finished first or second 50 times. The caddy from Glen Garden had mastered the game.
You know, all of a sudden he just quit. That's where you have to respect the man for, he set out to accomplish something, he accomplished that, he said, okay, that's it. And that's wonderful to be able to do that.
And I wanted this range worse than I wanted anything. And I had to, that was my goal the last 3 years that I played, was to get the money to buy and pay for a ranch. I wanted it, and my wife had finally agreed that we could buy one if we didn't buy it way out in the sticks somewhere. Well, we're not out in the sticks. We're near Fort Worth and Dallas.
After retiring at the very pinnacle of golf, Byron was eager to roll up his sleeves and go to work. He tried his hand at raising chickens, turkeys, and pigs, and he was even able to buy his first 50 head of cattle with the proceeds from his book, Winning Golf. Byron still had plenty of energy left for golf. His good friend Eddie Lowry shared his love of the game, and neither of them could stray very far from it. In 1951, Byron decided to return to tournament golf and compete in the Crosby at Pebble Beach. He did more than compete. He won the tournament, then went on his way displaying his talents in exhibitions all over the country, just as he had during World War II, when he traveled from coast to coast, appearing at benefits for the USO and Red Cross. Byron Nelson had become one of golf's finest ambassadors and friends.
My colleague, Texan Byron Nelson, who played right here at Carnoustie in 1937, is all bundled up, and to play the course, you need more than being bundled up.
You're starting to do, Chris. You need all the clothes that you can get on.
I love doing television. It was not easy for me, and I'd have to say this, that I probably would have never been very good at it if it had been for a wonderful friend, Chris Schenkel.
The man who was 1/3 of the legendary threesome of Hogan, Nelson, and Snead was now telling the world of a brand new generation of stars who would make their own mark on the game.
Because he's been the same man his whole life. He's been lending a hand to other people and helping where he can and in the capacity that he can, and I think golf is a great vehicle for that. He recognized that early on, maybe earlier than anyone else, that golf can be this kind of vehicle to help people and help communities, and so the Salesmanship Club.
In 1967, the Salesmanship Club of Dallas asked Byron Nelson if he would lend his name to a golf tournament whose proceeds would go to help children. Byron agreed to help, and since that first year, the tournament, now known as the GTE Byron Nelson Classic, has raised more than $40 million to improve the lives of children and families in the Dallas area. And Byron has done much more than lend his name to the tournament. He's opened his heart and spent time with the children, encouraging them to discover the potential that lies within each and every one of them.
Not only was he a great golfer, obviously with his record, I think it was 1945 when he won those tournaments back to back, but he's a class act, and he's a great symbol for our company in terms of how to conduct life, how to conduct business, how to treat your customers. And it's just wonderful the time and attention and love that he gives to this tournament.
Well, he's a salesmanship club member, just like myself and the other guys you see out here in red pants, and holds up his end of that bargain in a big way. One of the things he does a wonderful job of that none of the other club members can do the way Byron is, and that's recruit the guys to come play in this event. And obviously they have a very special relationship with Byron and think so much of him that as a recruiter, there's none better.
Players do appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with a man who has meant so much to the game. Tom Watson has won the tournament 4 times. The victories are special to him. Byron has been his mentor and friend.
Somebody asked me why I was a good teacher, and I said because I picked my pupils. And of course, my 2 main pupils were Tom Watson and Ken Venturi. And you know how great both of them are. And I have had the good fortune to talk to a lot of people like Ben Crenshaw and Tom Kite and then Justin Leonard and other players. And it really is very gratifying to me to have the young players today that will talk to me about their game.
Iron Byron himself hasn't just talked a good game. Over the years, he's been known to give a clinic or 2.
One year, we played at Preston Trail, and my very good friend, D.A. Weibring, who always does the junior clinic, and D.A. does a great job. He and Tom Watson and Byron and I did the junior clinic. And I remember Byron was saying, well, don't expect me to hit it like you fellas. I can't hit it like you fellas. And we didn't care. We wanted to see him hit just any shot. And he started off with a couple of 7-irons. And then I think Tom was kidding him because they're such good friends. He said, let me see you hit a driver off the deck. He says, well, I'm not sure I can do that. And sure enough, he threw a ball down on the tee without a tee. But I think on the 2nd or 3rd shot, he hit the 200-yard sign or the 225-yard sign. And of course, he turned and said, at my age, I get to tell you that I was aiming there after I hit it. And he turned, he said to Tom, he said, at your guys' age, you got to tell me before you hit it. At my age, I get to say where I was aiming after I hit it.
And he walked away and kind of handed the club to Tom and said, okay, Tom, now it's your turn, right? But when he came back and he sat down, he leaned over to me, and this shows you the genuineness. He said, do you believe I did that? I can't believe it. It wasn't like, see, I still got it. Yeah. He said, I can't believe I did that. And he was just genuinely excited about that. Obviously, there was a wonderful chill going through the gallery, and the people who got a chance to see him, you know, still be competitive and still play great shots. And he's just special. I mean, all the way through, as great a player as he was, the way he gives back and the way he gets involved, and he's the man.
In 1985, Byron's joy turned to sorrow as he said goodbye to Louise.
That was probably the lowest point in his life. His partner for 51 years had that terrible stroke, and they couldn't communicate. And he stayed by her and was with her, took care of her. He made her carrot juice every day. He made sure that she was getting the right therapy, and he did that. The toughest part was Louise had African violets, and which is an extremely difficult plant to take care of with the grow lights and the fertilization, and they have to be pruned and just certain things. And Byron tried very hard to do that for her. I think Louise really appreciated that, even though she couldn't speak. I think that she appreciated the efforts, and that's Byron in anything. I'll say this, Byron Nelson, when you have him for a friend, you're never going to find a better friend.
After all the heartache Byron endured, he received yet another blessing in his life.
I know Peggy has made Byron's life complete because of God does wonderful things from the standpoint of making up for some hurt. And there was a lot of hurt there for 3 years for Byron, and Peggy has certainly made up for that in spades.
Peggy turned me around, and she's just great. We have a wonderful relationship. She plays golf, and she helps me to golf course, and I go every time I go anywhere now. Peggy goes with me, and so if I go someplace they don't see Peggy, they say, "Where's Peggy?" I said, "She's right over there, and she's right over here." So I don't go anywhere without her.
He always tells me, I couldn't do any of this if it weren't for you, and I love to be able to help him. It really does make me feel as though I have a mission in life, But I just love to be with him. It doesn't matter whether we're on a plane going somewhere or we're sitting at home watching Wheel of Fortune or whatever it is, We just love to be together.
He's the most kind, gentle-hearted person. I can't imagine Byron Nelson teeing it up on number one and wanting to try to rip your heart out. Now, maybe that's the way he won his tournaments. I think he just wanted, I think he loved the game so much that he wanted to play his best golf, and whoever came out on top at the end.
I saw him in lunch today, and he said, boy, you've got a fine swing. I said, Mr. Nelson, I'd like to have it on tape because I think that's good for a couple 66s at least this week, just to hear that comment. But he's sincere, and he's a genuine person. There's no phoniness about Byron Nelson.
You know, there's some people who are, you know, played when you played who aren't involved, choose not to be involved, and that's their decision, and that's fine. But Byron chooses to be around and chooses to still encourage the young players, and to me, that's, you know, that's what life's all about, is, you know, giving back to the game that's, you know, meant so much to you. It really kind of marks his character.
He comes out, you know, you walk up in events, you wouldn't even begin to think that somebody might be out. He's standing there on the first tee on Sunday or Saturday wishing you good luck, and you just, you know, what are you doing here? And he just likes to get out and see the guys, which is great because we like to see him.
Not bad for a guy who won his first Masters way back in 1937 and repeated in 1942.
Well, it makes me feel great to have the boys come, and the way they honor me and talk to me. You know, whenever you're at my age and the people are glad to see you and want to talk to you and stuff, it makes you feel good.
He reminds me a lot of my father. Byron had a passion and a love for the game of golf, much like my father did, and he's touched my life. Thank you so very much, and God bless you very much, Byron.
He's a very special person, and you know, beyond what he accomplished on the golf course, you know, he goes out of his way to help people, and you know, he'll do anything he can. Pulled me aside last year and gave me kind of a pep talk. Playing in a tournament that has Byron's name or Ben Hogan associated to it, I mean, that's pretty important, because those are the two. One of the two pioneers of the game. They, you know, brought the game to the masses, and you know, it wasn't for them.
Byron Nelson and Ben Hogan, yeah, I don't think you can say one without the other, but they have been true inspirations for all the players that have come along behind them. They have set a standard with their golf that's probably unparalleled, and certainly an inspiration for all of us that grew up in Texas.
We've had a lot of fun through the years. Byron, you've been a great golfer. You've been a great friend of the game of golf. We all appreciate all that you've done for the game of golf, and we thank you for you. You've been wonderful, and we wish you nothing but continued success, and our best to Peggy.
When I was a teenager, I watched all the records that he was setting, and records that will never be broken. He was just a great player, a great man. And I respect Byron very much, and I'm very proud to be a friend of his.
His capacity for openness and friendship, or what you think of Byron. He's been so kind to everyone in so many walks of life, and that's a mark of a great man. He's made a great difference in a lot of people's lives.
Byron, I appreciate you as a friend. You've been a wonderful friend to me, and I would like to pass on that type of friendship to somebody younger than me in the future.
After all you've been through, you started out as a barefoot boy in Waxahachie. Do you just look back on that and just smile about everything? And
oh yes, I've had a very fortunate life. I consider myself to be the most fortunate man in the world because, number one, I was born with wonderful parents, and that's a great start in life when you have that. I had love, I had discipline, and then I had a sister and a brother. They're both younger than I am, and my brother's 14 years younger. As a matter of fact, the relationship that I've had over the period of years with golfers, with people at the church, and stuff has made me very proud to be what I am, and I feel a responsibility that I don't definitely not do anything to let those people down, because they haven't let me down. So I feel a responsibility that I owe something to them to continue to do the best I can and to live correctly and to act neighborly. It's played big dividends because I don't have a bad friend, and I've got more friends than anybody in the world. Cody, you've been interviewing me. I'm going to interview you. How long have you been playing golf?
I got started when I was about 10.
What's your best game?
I've shot 67 twice at the North Course at Ridgely.
Oh, well, it's good to see you, and I'm glad that I wrote you a letter one time.